how much money do you think you need to be making a month to be able to live a free life? To live now, because this is something I'm thinking about as well, like to be able to be completely free, have your farm, like how much income do you need a month to be able to sustain something like this?
Yeah. So it's a good question. And so for that goal specifically, like I'm gonna, if I have reserve, like some kind of monetary reserves, like not necessarily like cash in a bank, but monetary, like be it gold, Bitcoin, whatever, like some stabler form of cash, of liquidity. Set like in the seven figures, which I'm basically there already. That's fine for me to buy all the land I need, have a home built, buy all the farm equipment, to set that plan up, like seven figures or a couple of seven figures, easily enough. Like literally buy everything, all the cows, all the whatever, right? Now, if someone was trying to bootstrap that from scratch, well, then because I'm not trying to make that into a money producing venture. It's literally just a food producing venture for me and my family for generations. That's all I care about with that. It's not to make money on that farm or anything. So for someone to do that on a smaller budget, you'd have to find a way. You'd have to kind of balance those two things together and turn part of that land into like agricultural production, so you can actually make some goddamn money off of it and you actually survive and you can continue the process, right? Now, in terms of how much money do you need to be free, because not everyone wants that kind of life. Some people might want the kind of vagabondish, jet-setting kind of lifestyle I currently have.
Vagabondish, yeah.
Vagabondish. How much money do you need for that? And I think the money isn't actually the important part. It's the freedom. The flexibility is the big thing. Because that is truly worth a lot more than money. Because like I can work from anywhere. I've designed my business in such a way that I can work from anywhere. I work when I want, for who I like, doing whatever I want, and that's the thing that people will spend their whole life wanting that, but they'll spend it focused on just building up their money supply. And what they don't realize is that they've kind of trapped themselves with all these different kind of commitments and restrictions on their flexibility, so they'll never actually have that. The kid who runs like maybe does some video editing and like makes maybe a couple of grand a month, but he bounces around South America on a whim. He has actually a lot more freedom and flexibility than most millionaires. You know, so you have to really define exactly what you want. You know, I mean, you have loads of commitments, but you do have a very, very jet-setting lifestyle as well. So you've struck a really unique balance between those two, and I think let's look at Justin Waller, for example, right? He now has that kind of jet-setting, flexible lifestyle, right? But he spent 15 years grinding, building a construction business, which is the least flexible business you could possibly have. Right, but now he's leveraged it to a point where he's got the right people in the right positions, so that now he can step back and run it remotely, shall we say? Right. But most people will never get to that point with a kind of brick and mortar business. They won't, unless you maybe listen to some Justin's advice on how to actually run that kind of thing. Right. So I think you have to really sit down and ask yourself exactly what you want. And I always knew from the very beginning that freedom was the thing I valued more than anything else. I value flexibility and freedom more than I value my money, a lot more. Yeah.
And then you say Justin took 15 years for you to build this business, this income stream that you currently have. I mean, we'll talk about what it is and everything else, but to build that, how long has it taken you with that intention that you want to be free, that I want to have, like you say, financial freedom and physical freedom and logistical freedom? How long has it taken to build that sort of thing?
Well, you could say there's two answers. You could say it took me 3 years because I started this current business in 2020, but that's the wrong answer because it took me 2 failed businesses over the course of the previous, what would it be? Since I was 23. Yeah. So that's another several years. So it's, the better part of over a decade of learning entrepreneurial skills and succeeding and failing and taking risks, because those things become ingrained in your brain and the way you see business decisions, the way you act, the way you make partnerships, everything is, that's why, going back to the point I made ages ago about, there's no risk. It's a win-win. If I Try a business and it fails. I just learned a ton of stuff. Cool. Next business. Didn't quite work out, or it had a little bit more success. Excellent. I know I'm getting closer to the mark. And all those lessons I learned in my previous businesses, I've applied in this one, and which is why it has succeeded so quickly. Mm-hmm. It's because I knew all that stuff. I wasn't starting from scratch, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, for you, let's just say a decade, because you said like
at least a decade.
At least say a decade. For me, hearing that, a decade is zero time when you think, okay, in a decade you can have financial freedom, logistical freedom, and be able to do whatever you really want and be able to work whenever you really want. Or you can go down this path and work for a company, and then when you're 60 or 65, or now I think it's 70,
you get to retire.
You get to retire. So you're going to have to work, I mean, I'm 35, so another 35 years for somebody else. So even if I give up a third of that life to then be able to have my own business that makes me my own money. That's how I look at it straight away. Like, whereas other people look at the risk, and I'm like, the reward is so much bigger than the risk. Yeah. So it's, I mean, I'm similar, and I would actually say, like, even including your time in porn and everything else. Like, for me, if I started a business now, I started a few businesses before as well, even when I was fighting, but the only reason I could start a business and it can be taken seriously would be my background and my lifestyle. Even this podcast, people only listen because I fought in the UFC and I built up a reputation. That's 15 years of my life. So those 15 years of my life, you have to then utilize them to be able to do something. So any business I start now, it's taking me 15 years to get there. You know?
Exactly.
And I think it's, but what I think is interesting is, because I'm having these discussions quite a lot. My brother, he does very, very well. He works, for a big conglomerate company. He makes, multiple six figures a year. He's fantastic, but he's got a job. And I've been saying to him for years, become a consultant, start your own consultancy, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, no. And he said to me the other day, like, I'm thinking about starting my own consultancy. It's like, I've been telling you that for 5 years, but he'll never admit it. But it's like, he's investing his time and his energy into a job, which is what most people do, and they're scared to go this way. So if you can make some automated income, or some income that you don't have to trade your time for, even if it's a small amount, like you just said, that small amount of money you can make, it's £300 a month, is worth £1,000 a month or £2,000 a month, because you don't have to do anything for it. So it's like, but if you never even start any sort of revenue stream that could, if you even don't even think of that idea, and you don't think to start going down this path, like you're down the path now, like you said, a decade. So you're now making great money. But if you don't, you have to start the path, right? Yeah. And that's most people want to start the path and they want to buy a Lambo like next year.
Right, yeah.
So